Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing something really special, and I'm sure you're wondering why we are on the page of the previous video. So in the previous video, in case you're new here, we carried out a forensic investigation that involved corporate data theft, and it was from this site, Digital Corporate, we got our data set. So if you watched that, or if you haven't, then you need to see it, and or before you see the video, why not try to do it yourself? And if you can't, you can use the video as a guide to help you. Today we're going to be doing something different. We've carried out our investigation. We need to document and report our findings. We're imagining that we have to report before a high court what our findings were, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a report. So this is the case that we were working on, the M57 gene scenario. You can read it, but we are not staying on this page for so long. So basically, an employee in the organization was named as the culprit of corporate data exfiltration, and we had to, or corporate data theft, and we had to be the ones to carry out the investigation to prove if she was actually guilty, among many other objectives. So let's get into it. Let's see what we have. All right. So here we have the examiner's notes or the examiner notes. And this is to keep track of the findings and record all steps taken during the examination. So you will need to refer back to this when you are writing your report. So it's very important that when you are carrying out an investigation, you should have your examiner notes set. It can be soft copy, it can be hard copy. And it's very important because sometimes your examiner notes can be required by the court. It's very, very important that you have a note that details your find that where you detail your findings, what time. So here we have the date. As you can see, we have the start time at 12:29 p.m. I started FTK Imager and opened the digital image of Jane's drive. 12:39 p.m. I opened the suspect's email correspondence using kernel Outlook PST viewer. So I recorded, or rather documented, everything I was doing. So it reinforces my professionalism, it reinforces my expertise that I actually knew what I was doing while carrying out this investigation. So it will also provide you with the repeatability of findings. So the examiner notes essentially serve as a journal for your investigation. So probably you may have watched CSI series where you see detectives with their little notes. Think of this as that. And like I said, it can be soft copy or hard copy. And also, if you're working for an attorney and you are billing by the hour, you see this last column, that is very, very important. So you're able to put in there how long it took you, and the duration is in tenths of an hour. It's not, it's like that because we want to ensure uniformity. So the examiner notes can be easily updated to include the duration of time spent examining the digital evidence. And the time durations are made to appear in tenths of an hour for the sake of uniformity. So a tenth of an hour, that's about 6 minute increments. So 6 minutes, 0.1 hour, 12 minutes, 0.2 hour, 60 minutes, that's 1 hour. And if you have a case, maybe something you were doing some analysis, maybe you were trying to extract or acquire an iPhone, and that took you about how long now? Let's say it took you 42 minutes to complete. You are going to have to approximate. So that's about 42 minutes. That will give you about 0.7 hours, right? So that's the importance of examiner notes. And Now, we have the report itself. Now, the report is something that looks like a thesis. It's most times very, very pository. So, here's my report. This is 4 pages. Mind you, this case was not a very complex one. But you have an idea. So, this is what the report looks like. We have our findings, we have our conclusion, we have our recommendation, we have the appendices, we have the examiner. And I'm going to explain these things. In a classic report, you can have something like the abstract if the report is a very long one, and go on to have an introduction that states the purpose of the examination, state the goals or the mission from the person that requested your services, maybe an attorney or law enforcement or a court itself. And then you have the bona fides. And what the bona fide does is to enforce or state that yes, you are within your expertise to carry out an investigation. So it's a statement that lists your credentials as a digital forensic examiner or investigator. So maybe a reference to your CV and maybe even past recommendation. So, and most times those things appear in the appendix of the report. And then we have the body of the report that gives the overview, discussion about the nature of the case. So you are describing the examination process, you're describing the evidence you collected, and then your findings. If you remember, we had a part of the report that detailed our findings. Here it is. So this technical analysis that is above is also part of the body of our report. And then we have our conclusion that gives a brief statement of the purpose of the report. In the same conclusion, there's a brief list of primary findings from the examination. So that's how a report should be. These are the things that guide you in creating a report. So let's look at ours. Our report has, so this is the header, the digital forensics examination report of the M57 gene case. And as you can see, this is the case ID. This was something I just invented, the forensic junkie M57 gene. Date June 10th, 2024. Magnum Forensics is the lab. I don't know if such a lab exists. It just came off my head. Note, it is trademarked. It's mine. So here is the classification. Of course, things like this are very, very sensitive. So you must state inside this report that inside the report that it is confidential. It was prepared by the forensic junkie. It's the final report, another confidentiality notice, and we have our executive summary. And it says on 12th June 2026, this laboratory was engaged by M57.Bs to conduct a forensic examination of an employee's laptop that had been named as the major suspect in a case of corporate data exfiltration. The hard drive of the employee's laptop was forensically acquired, and examination of the device revealed evidence of the data that was compromised on the suspect's desktop. We found alongside her correspondences with her boss and other employees subscription to mailing lists from CNN.com and Google Alerts. Further analysis revealed the suspect was a victim of a social engineering attack, with an attacker posing as the president demanding for confidential information. Now, if you go through this report, you see how we took our findings. In every report, very important that you state that chain of custody was followed, because if it can't be proven that you follow chain of custody and it looks that your investigation didn't follow the right methods, you didn't ensure chain of custody, then we can't believe your report. We can't believe the data was not compromised. We can't believe that what you are saying is true. And each time things like this happen, hopefully it doesn't happen to you, if you are working in this field as a forensic investigator. But if it does, you should know that it will be so hard for you to ever act as an expert witness in court. Because anytime things like that happen, it diminishes your expertise. It hits at your professionalism as a forensic investigator or forensic analyst. So it's very, very important that you follow the right methods. And chain of custody is very, very important. Without chain of custody, forensics is useless. So here we have the evidence inventory, we have the forensic, the main evidence we're giving was the forensic image, which we analyzed using FTK imager, or maybe in your case you used autopsy. That's also fine. We have the version, we have the forensic methodology, the tools we used, and you can see here that each tool, okay, the major tool we used here, FTK imager, has a version number, and that's very, very important because there are times that a report or your findings may need to be reproduced by another forensic investigator. In order to get repeatability of results, we have to make sure that we state exactly, even down to the version numbers of the tools we use. And here we have the imaging and integrity verification matched, so integrity was confirmed. So the technical analysis, we did a disk analysis, we did the email history, and then here was our here are our findings. As you can see, we discovered that there was email spoofing, and then the how. Very good. So we're given objectives. So we were asked how it happened, and we said that the suspect was socially engineered to send the spreadsheet containing employees' sensitive information to the attacker, posing as Allison, who happens to be the president of the company. And the attacker received this information and posted it on the competitor's website. Now, our third finding, we also found out that the suspect was innocent because using the EXIF tool and analysis of the spreadsheet, the results are consistent that the file was originally created less than a month to the incident, right? So it shows us that the person that was being accused didn't do it. And it really, really helps because if she was about to lose her standing in the company, this goes a long way to help her. Doesn't mean that she may not be fired because she may be fired for being careless, but definitely we know that it cannot turn into a criminal case. So a case whereby she was trying to engage in corporate espionage or anything like that. So it couldn't be that. The worst that can happen is that the company thinks of her. This is just me using my discretion, mind you. I'm not a lawyer or anything, but I feel that the worst that may happen is that the company thinks, oh, she was careless and she has to pay for it. And are my conclusions. So the forensic examination rejects the idea of insider collusion and sabotage by an employee or employees within M57.Bs. Because don't forget, one of our objectives was to find out who else was involved. And then it says that instead, it proves to be a case of phishing and social engineering, leading to an incident of corporate data theft. And yeah, those are my conclusions. These are my recommendations. So I recommended that they implement and conduct cybersecurity awareness training and best practices. I also recommended that they implement firewall systems and phishing trackers, implement a strict email usage policy, implement phishing detection drills. So if there was security awareness and training, most likely that incident would not have occurred. Jane would not have been tricked into sending that information. At least she would have tried to confirm with Alison, maybe through a call or something. And yeah, this is the examiner's declaration of the case, signed by the examiner himself. Signed, this is my real name. Of course, my real name is not the forensic job. Signed by me, the lab that conducted the examination and wrote the report. So here it is. Another very important thing to note is the appendix. So the appendix contains things, it may contain snapshots that were not included in the main report itself. It contains, if you remember, the chain of custody form. If it also contains, it can also contain the examiner's reference to his CV, to the examiner's CV, and maybe recommendations from cases that he has dealt with that qualify him to be able to carry out this investigation. I remember we called it bona fide. Those things are found in the appendix. And I didn't have a CV put in here, but you get the understanding. This is just a sample of what a digital forensic report should look like. It is not hard to do. I understand it can be a bit tedious, especially when the case is a complex one. Can be it can be annoying sometimes to write down, but it is worth it, especially when you get paid. So this is what it looks like. Also, if you notice, I added page numbers. There are 4 pages to this, and there's a number: one page, two page, three page, four. This is very, very important because if you are submitting this report in court, one of the ways that guarantees its integrity is the page numbers. Someone cannot say, or the opposing counsel cannot say or accuse you that a page is missing. And if someone rips out a page, you're going to know because you know the number of pages your report contains. So it's very, very important that you add page numbers to your report because that way, if a page goes missing, you're able to know, and no one can claim in court that this report is not complete, and then you are looking like a fool in court. No. So it's very, very important that you have page numbers attached to your report. Also, and finally, you must lock the PDF. You didn't see when I opened this PDF, but when you create a report, make sure that it's password protected to ensure confidentiality and that the password is only known to the parties that are involved. So that's it for today. Thank you. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.